Hey everybody, welcome back to This Old Trike. Today I'm doing something that may be a great idea or possibly a horrible idea. So I figured I'd share it with you just in case it works out. So let's take a look. Brake rotor flange on this 350X I'm taking apart is giving me a hard time. So I've worked up a little solution here. I've got my case puller perched over top of my axle, and I got some metal strapping that is probably going to stretch and not really do the job, but I'm going to heat that up, and then I'm going to start cranking on this and see if maybe we can make some magic happen. So let's see what happens. Okay, she's hot. So, now granted, this would be a lot easier if I had longer threaded rod. And then I could thread things. Wow. That worked a lot easier than I was expecting. All right. Very cool. Yeah, so that thing is really hot right now. So we're not going to touch that. But that was awesome. I worked at that for a while yesterday, so not yesterday, last weekend. There's an O-ring in there. That was probably what was seized up. But that gives us access to this circlip, which that's just about how far my tool can reach. And this slides off, and now I can slide the rest of the swing arm off. And that's pretty much, for the most part, disassembly. There's a couple things, and I'll show you what they are. Okay, so just got to take the lug nuts and the hub off that tire that's there. Everything's loosened up for me, so that'll come apart. I got to take the shock out of there. That'll come apart. I got to take my hub out of there. And I got to disassemble my forks. And pretty much this is fully disassembled. Now, as you remember from the last video, we have some major rot going on there. I've got an awesome solution that I can't wait to share with you. Stay tuned for that. But I figure, what's cooler than building one 350X? Building two. I had this frame up in my loft area since like 2018 or so. One day, my wife and I were doing some Christmas shopping, and I took us on a detour, and we bought a carcass, like 1.5 motors, a bunch of parts, and that's the frame. And I pulled it out of storage yesterday, and let me show you what I found out. So when I bought this part slot, like I told you, I knew this was an 86 frame because obviously you got a sticker on there, right? It's got a black triple, black top triple with the with this on it. So those are 86, and it had an 86 hub that's in a different spot, and so I just knew this was an 86 frame, and I pulled it out of storage like I told you yesterday, and I noticed this Zerk here, and I thought, why would somebody put a Zerk there? Because they want to grease up in here. I don't know if you realize why that's a foolish idea, because your bearings are down low on the other side of a race, or they're up tall on the other side of a race. So by putting a Zerk in the middle there, you're just putting grease in the middle of your steering stem, and it's really not doing anything. But it got my attention. I was like, oh, well, look at this. This has been painted. That's red, so that's obviously been painted. I wondered if they painted in the letters on the VIN. So I got looking at the VIN, and what did I see? F. F is right. F is right. Not right for an 86 frame, but so that makes this an 85 frame. And I said, wait, 85. Yep, 85 has a standoff on the forward mount of the grab bar. 86 does not. And I said, shoot, 85 is more prone to cracking right about, oh yeah, look at that repair right here. That's been repaired and welded on. And I thought, shoot, this is not an 86 frame. I wanted an 86 frame because I had an 86 takeout motor that I really wanted to put into it. And even if it wasn't that motor, it could have been this 86 motor. And even if it wasn't this 86 motor, it could have been this 86 motor. And that 86 motor is the one that came with the frame that we're now talking about. But I digress. So I got to figure out what I want to do with that. I have another 85 frame up here, but technically that's not mine. That's my buddy Doug's. Doug has said once things calm down after hunting season and soccer season, he was going to come join me and build a 350X with me. So that would be 3. Haven't heard much from Doug yet. Doug, where are you? Calling you out, brother. Anywho, let's talk about parts finishing. There's nothing worse than taking a machine all the way down, powder coating the frame, getting all new this, all new that, and then you're left with hardware. And here's a motor mount bolt. You can't buy this. Some hardware you can buy, the short ones, but that's a specific length with a specific head, and like for a 350X that doesn't exist anymore. But what are you going to do to clean this up? Are you going to, this doesn't come in a kit. You can buy lots of nice stainless steel kits, spec bolt kits, Greg Jr. sells kits, but it doesn't have that bolt in it. So what are you going to do? Oh, I've done this. I've taken it over to the wire wheel and I've cleaned up the head and I've cleaned up that end and I've put the machine all back together and it looks great for a little while. And the problem is when you wire wheeled it, you took off all the zinc, all the nice shiny zinc that protected it and kept it from rusting. Obviously, the zinc's long gone on this, but you refinish something and it looks like a turd before too long because you stripped all the protective coating off. So what do you do? Do you put clear coat on each of the bolts to, you know, keep that Honda bolt looking good? You could do that, but it's not bright and it's not shiny. It doesn't look like these nuts and bolts. Doesn't look like this kicker. That's all nice and shiny now. I've been riding this a little bit, so it's a little bit dirty, so forgive me for that. But this is an example of what it could look like if you buy new hardware, but sometimes it's not available, like I said, or you have all the hardware zinc plated. So I've got a buddy named Rex Slaughter, and he would always send me pictures of builds that he was working on, and all the hardware and metal pieces were all laid out and they were all beautifully zinc coated. And I was like, Rex, where are you finding these new old stock kits to, you know, like PK suspension kits for 200S or a 185 or something like that? And he would say, I'm having it plated. I was like, man, I've got to find a place near me that plates that. So he's got a place near him that he uses for the big stuff, and he's got a place that he uses for the small stuff, and he told me about that place, and I'm not going to share that with you. I don't want to blow up their spot. I don't want to make it hard for me to get stuff done, but if you Google it and do some research, you can find a place near you. I know a couple of my buddies, Matt Coggs, Garage MC, I'll give him a shout out. He's got a YouTube channel. Check him out if you've never heard of him, Garage MC. He's got a place he uses for plating. I think it's the same place as Michael Sabo. They're down in New Jersey. There's places around that do it. My buddy Chris out in Connecticut, he's got a good place for axles, and I think I might look into having this axle done and maybe another one from that place. But what we're going to do, we're going to take all this hardware, even this stuff, even these, the band clamps, probably the kicker, this big axle nut, this bracket down here, that's the axle nut, our lugs, anything that is raw metal colored, and we're going to take it and put it all together and send it out. It's going to look like this when we send it out, right? How many of you got nuts and bolts containers that look like that? But what you want is a nut and bolt container that looks like this. So this is all Honda hardware that I've acquired from, you know, you buy a machine and sometimes it comes with a parts machine or spare parts or whatever. I'm slowly putting all my nuts and bolts together to end up with nice containers that have organized hardware. I'm getting there. I'm not Mike Pomgren. I'm not a professional, but I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday. So here's the thing. Look at the threads on this. So that has rust grit in it. And look at the end on that. So as long as you don't see the end of that bolt, the head looks great. For the most part, it's got some tooling marks on there. But what I've learned is, and what I've been told, and I knew this going into it, the more you prep, the better you make out. Because these bolts, you know, they probably weren't going to be good for anything anyway. But I sent them off to be plated the first time I had this done with zero prep. So that really needs a wire wheel job to clean that out. It probably might never be good for anything, but I want to give it another chance. So I'm going to wire wheel these. And then I'm going to tumble them. So Harbor Freight has these in various sizes. I bought this media, 5 pound. My buddy Chris, he's got the big boy tumbler, vibratory tumbler bowl. But I've been experimenting with this. I bought this back over the summer and I did a little bit with it and I recorded some video, but I really didn't do much with it. But look at, we just took a ring off our machine that looked a lot like that. So it really does a decent job. And this is just to prep like that. That still has tarnish on it, we'll say. These are some pieces that have been through here already. So this is, we're going to feed all these pieces that I'm pulling off through this vibrator, through the wire wheel, and then through this to prep them for plating. And I wanted to do a review on that. So I'm pretty pleased with how that's turning out. So we're going to break right now, and I want to do an unboxing of that. So I'll tell you about that machine and how it works. And here's all that video, and this is probably from like July. So let's go back to the summertime. Hey everybody, welcome back to This Old Trike. Today I bought one of these Central Machinery metal vibratory bowls. Need this to tumble nuts, bolts, brackets, things like that to prep that stuff for plating. And I've seen these. I've got a lot of good buddies that promote them highly. I want to test it out myself and see how it goes. So we're going to put this thing through its paces and see what we get. Before we get started, let's talk about what the goal is. You know, the goal is you want to have nuts and bolts that look like this. This is stuff I've had plated, stuff I've sent out to have new zinc coating put on. So these are used Honda bolts. Honda bolts have a variation of stampings on them to, you know, some are shaped like this. But when you're doing a restoration, you want legit Honda hardware going back in there. And when you're taking stuff apart, a lot of times the hardware is not ideal. Let me show you what it looks like when you take stuff apart. A lot of times you're dealing with stuff that looks like this. You know, this is used, this is straight off machines. Some of it's, you know, still got some sort of shine, but a lot of it is dirty and dingy. But all of this stuff can look like this stuff I showed you over there. It's just got to be replated. You can spend a lot of time in front of a wire wheel. You can spend a lot of time in front of a blast cabinet. Both of those are very noisy operations, very time consuming, especially with a wire wheel. You can get your fingers in there. You can lose your hold on the bolt or the bracket, whatever it is, and send it flying across the shop. These vibratory bowls are great alternatives to that. It's kind of like a set it and forget it sort of thing. I think they are a little noisy, but you haven't got to be there for it. So that's what I'm going to try to find out. I bought the 5-pound option. They make an 18-pound option, which I have friends that swear by that. I got this media. Since I'm new to this, I wanted to start small, get my feet wet, and see how it goes. So that's what we're going to do. I bought the rust-cutting resin abrasive media for metal bolts and nuts, so I apparently picked the right stuff. It removes rust from bolts and nuts without damaging threads. That's what these look like. They're little pyramids. But like this one's got red in there. Oops. So I'm gonna leave that. It's got nut with red paint on it. Here's a choke lever bracket. I don't know what this goes to off the top of my head. This bracket. Give a little sampler. This thing. Alright. Let's show you what I put in here. So a little mix. Different shapes and sizes. I think this will handle more, but I just want to see what this does. So I'm not going to put the lid on it just yet until I can watch this, because I think it looks pretty cool when it starts to go. Here we go. So it's seriously been like 5 minutes. And so you can see it's working, but it's going to take a lot longer. I'm not saying I was expecting 5 minutes. I was just showing what 5 minutes looks like. So, yeah. Now, I did observe with the lid on and this just doing its work, it's noisier than I'd want to have in while I'm like doing work. Like if I want to put a show on or listen to a podcast or something, it's louder than I would want. Like I can't hear my show over the sound of this. So, but this would be a great thing to leave out here overnight when I'm not working in here. And I am going to be doing some work in here, so I'm not going to leave that on. But when I leave, I'll turn it on and I'll check it in the morning. See what we got. Might be a good time to swap out what's in there with some other stuff from the box. And ultimately I'll process this all and then send it out to be replated. I'm not saying this is the end all be all. You know, this isn't going to take out gouges from metal. It's not going to restore metal perfectly and make a sometimes a bolt or a nut or a piece of metal is just too far gone. All right, it is now 7:30 in the morning, so this thing's been running pretty much a full 12 hours. We'll see what it looks like inside. Now, it did say in the instructions not to open it immediately after shutting it off. Let's see if we can find out why. Okay, so these were formerly green, but now they're gray. Alright, a little shinier. Alright, this is found a home in there. So these look really good. They're all dusty. So they're not perfect, but like another 12 hours would probably get the rest of that. So this has got a negative area in here. You can see the difference here, where that's shiny and that's still rusty. So they're getting brighter, but they are not all the way done yet. Let's keep it going. Gonna go to work. We'll see what they look like after. We're learning together here that you can put stuff in that's too big. Now this thing, you can see a little mark right here. Right here by my thumb. This got pinned kind of this way. This thing was wadded up underneath it. So who knows how many hours that was vibrating. But it does a good job. It's not the end all be all. And I'm going to do one last test because I found where I'd already put all the stuff in the box. Like this is the stuff that I didn't prep before. So once I let the stuff that's in the bin run for the rest of the day, I'm going to pop this in just to see what happens. Now this is all pitted up, right? That's probably never ever going to be good. But I just want to see as a test, will it get the rust that's in there? And probably if you have rust like that heavy inside of a shallow area, I doubt that's going to get it because some of these other ones. Did I show you these? This is what came out. This is the first batch. But you can see like that one is the one that had red paint in there. Like they're not getting in there. So that you'll either have to wire wheel or sandblast. And that's, you can see where I scraped some stuff in there. That's the same way. And like in this little area, the media can't get in there. It gets all wadded up in the threads here too. But it's a good pre-treatment, you know, just to see where you're at. Like that would need some glass bead or sandblast to get down to bare metal. And I'd say it'd be worth it to do that, especially on pieces like this that you want nice and nicey nice. But I mean, I'm starting with this stuff. This is all the hardware off my 250R that I had powder coated back in '99. So anyway, stay tuned and we'll show you how the other stuff comes out. All right, so I think that's going to be beneficial when it comes to an axle or a big part. I think hand prepping it, if you have access to a lathe and you can take out tooling marks, or I don't want to say tooling marks, but marks from being ridden and damage, that's your best bet. Because however it is, when you send it off to be plated, it's going to just accentuate that. So it's nice to have bright, shiny bolts anyway. But stay tuned for how they come back. It's going to take a couple weeks to get them back, probably closer to a month. These are things I'm thinking of to keep me busy while I'm waiting for things to get powder coated. I've got a pretty major repair going to happen on this frame. And my buddy Matt from Garage MC, he's coming in very key with assisting me on fixing this. So stay tuned for that. Got to decide what I'm going to do with that frame. If you've got an 86 350X frame and you want an 85 and you want to trade, let me know. That's unlikely though. But I might try to track one down. I might just run it. It's not going to be a showpiece anyway. It'll look nice, but it's going to be a rider because my son has been riding my rider. So I'm either going to get this back and let him have this other one, or maybe I'll just want the other one. I don't know. Something else I just want to make mention of. We've been doing Hoarder of the Week on Honda Hoarders. Honda Hoarders is a Facebook group. So if you don't follow that group and you don't like Facebook, don't worry about it. If you're interested in Facebook groups that do a good job at policing scammers, and it's a great community. There's 53 or so thousand people that have joined that group. And 5 years ago, we had a thing that we were calling Hoarder of the Week. And it was just putting the spotlight on somebody. The people vote, you do a poll, and we started that 5 years ago. I did probably 20 or 30 interviews with people. Eventually got burned out and wanted to step back from that, but I've revived it. To become Hoarder of the Week, you got to be in the group and be a contributor, be someone that people want to learn about. And we just did our first Hoarder of the Week interview earlier this week on Tuesday. We've got the second one coming up this coming Tuesday, so in a couple days. Brian Cardella. Brian, my buddy, he is the slow wheelie champion of my event 2 times running. I can't remember if he didn't participate at Trike Fest or if there was a snafu, but anyway, this guy is an awesome dude. We're going to learn about his collection, what makes him tick, things that he likes to do, and whatnot. So if you're interested in that, chime in, join us, and stay tuned while we put these 2 350Xs together. And I'll call him out one more time. Doug, if you want to join the show, we'll get this powder-coated 350X frame off the shelf. Make it pretty for you. Come on, let's do it. We'll call him out this way too. Doug is one of those friends, and I love this guy. He was the best man at my wedding. I was the best man in his wedding. You ever have one of those friends that when they're taking action pictures, you're always like just leaving the shot or just entering the shot? That's how most of his action pictures are. I won't say all. He got mad one time I said all, but Doug took this picture of me jumping my 350X back in 1997, and he nailed it. So in honor of Doug, I keep that framed right here. Sorta in honor of Doug. But let's make it 3, Doug. Bring it down. Thanks for watching. We'll keep you posted and check in next week to see what we're doing then.